We're going live in 3,
Press.
2. I'm all about that ranch dressing fountain. You could double your rates if you did that. How about this? Ranch dressing hot tub, Lewis. 2 birds, 1 stone.
Oh, isn't her ladles?
And we're live. Oh, it's just me. That's not what I meant to do at all. Double boom. All right. We already got the people here. I told them we were going live about 30 minutes ago, so only half of them are left. Let's see. Is the actual stream going? Can you guys hear me? Can you see me? It says we've been live for 35 seconds, but it also says there's no one here. Yeah. That's for Jay Cruz. I don't want to hear nothing about it, Lewis. Okay. Well, we actually have a whole lot of show for you all here this week. Believe it or not, sorry for all the technical difficulties. We, of course, couldn't start the show smoothly. That wouldn't be in the CultCast tradition. But we finally got everything working. Lewis is here. You'll notice he's got a different background. There's no frumpled sheets or bags of trash behind him. He has a whole new life, whole new outlook on life now. He's at his private compound somewhere in the forest of Ohio. He's coming for you, Griffin. I warned you. Ah, shoot! I just realized that I forgot to write the intros. Should I just do it? Should I just? I'm gonna ad-lib them, just completely improv. I knew I was forgetting something.
This is fascinating.
All right, well, let's see here. I think we got everything ready. So we're gonna go ahead and just do it live. Are we having problems? Oh, that's from you, Lewis. Yes, but nothing new there. Let me move this over here, and we'll get this thing going. Oh, we can't do that yet because I have to call Mrs. D. Oh, Mrs. D.
The controversial.
Mrs. D. Oh, I too have a private cabin. Oh, really? Yes. Oh, yes, it's my private lovemaking cabin. Oh, gross. I don't even know what that means, Lewis. It's where I take Al Caney. Ugh. Lewis, they have a whole cabin.
The price is dropping.
The price is wrong. Of course, they don't rent it out. It's just purely for their lovemaking sessions. It's so gross, Mrs.
Grim.
D. I don't want to hear any more about that. If you don't mind, we have actually a whole lot of Apple news to talk about this week. I would love to get this show rolling. Of course, as soon as I get the show rolling, you know the UPS driver is going to be standing outside my window wagging that middle finger, Lewis. He's on the way. It's almost like he knows. He knows. All right, Mrs. D, if you don't mind, I'm going to get the music going. And we'll get these intros ad-libbed in 3, 2. Hello, and welcome to the CultCast, the best 30-plus minute Apple conversation you're going to hear. All week long, I'm your host, Arifan Elijah. Join me today. He's got the personality of Oscar Grouch and the complexion of Miss Piggy. He's the magic guy.
That's pretty good for off the cuff.
Lewis Wallace is here. Also joining us, I'll be honest with you, now that he's in the same state as when Lewis Wallace, he doesn't have much life left. Say goodbye to your wife and your dogs and your cats, all your animals, because I'm pretty sure Lewis is coming for you, Griffin. Watch out. He's a writer at CultMac. Griffin Jones is here. It's terrible.
Good evening. That wasn't the worst it possibly could.
Lewis's was much better. I lost my way. It's hard to do those on the fly.
This is the time where I reveal that I've actually been lying about living in Ohio, and I actually live in Vermont.
Yeah, right. Oh, you shouldn't have told him. Now he knows. You blew your one chance to get out. Now that you guys are both in Ohio together, though. Yeah. What, Lewis?
Oh, I can't even remember what I was going to ask now.
You were literally mid-sentence, like moments ago.
Yeah, but I started trying to adjust the volume, and then my brain just fried right out.
Yeah, well, I understand that. That's what happened when I was trying to do Griffin's intro and had to press all the buttons at the same time. doing the ad-lib and the buttons, not a good recipe for creativity.
Too hard. Everything's difficult.
This is the Cult of Mac high latency special episode.
I know what I was going to ask. I was going to ask,
okay.
how many hours each week do you usually spend on the intros?
Oh, the intros? Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Probably 5 minutes max. Oh yeah, I crank those out really fast. But it's hard to ad lib them though while I'm doing all the buttons and everything. So I usually just write it out. Yeah.
I'm sure.
I usually write them out, and then I will either do them verbatim, like I'll actually read them if they're complicated and there's a lot of points I need to hit. But sometimes I just use it as an outline and I'll just do it live, because it has better energy when you do it live,
Of course.
It's the result of the 3 improv classes I took 10 years ago, which was one of the most awkward set of experiences I've ever had in my entire life. Have you guys ever taken an improv class? Yeah, it's brutal, man.
Were you considering a career change?
No. I just thought it would be fun, and my wife got them for me as gifts, so I did them, and it looked like it was fun, but it's difficult. It's incredibly difficult because once you get up there, you have like that really palpable nervous energy that you're trying to deal with as you're trying to respond to the scenarios that you're placed in. And I think Steve Carell once said the hardest part about improv is listening, and that's 100% true. Because once you kind of get into that mind space where you're really nervous and you're trying to react to what other people are saying, it's very difficult to move your focus off your nerves and actually listen to what's going on in the sketches, because you have to like vibe off each other. And everyone else is nervous too, and it's just one of the most awkward, terrible experiences. But once you get good at it, it's a lot of fun. All right, look, that's not what the people are here to to hear us talk about, or maybe
they're here for the tweet.
Oh, you want the tweet action? Now that part, I did get lined up. So if you want that, it's out, or it should be out in mere moments. Okay, it says it's sent. All right, look, we have a lot of great topics to talk about this week. I thought it was going to be terribly slow, but surprisingly, Gurman must be back from vacation. We got all sorts of stuff to talk about here this week. We have some new intel on iPhone 16 and the big advancement that Apple's going to be moving towards for the action button, which I think you'll all be happy to hear about. We've got some topics on the iPhone 17 and beyond, about the iPhone going full screen. We have a new MacBook Air with M3 incoming before we thought it was going to be here. It looks like the 12.9-inch iPad Air and the new overhauled OLED iPads are literally right around the corner, so I'm excited about that. Lewis is going to tell us about some new push notification conspiracy theory that's floating around out here. Lewis is real big into conspiracies. Don't even get him started about the shape of the Earth. That will take a whole show. And let's see here. We're going to wrap up. Oh, I thought we scratched the beeper story. Is that going to be your... I don't want to spoil anything. Actually, we'll leave that in there. We're going to wrap up with our picks of the year. So this is the segment we do all December where we talk about anything that we loved in 2023. It could be shows. It could be products. And we'll be doing this every episode all December long because, look, as we get closer to Christmas, what the heck else are we going to do? There's going to be absolutely nothing. I'm surprised we even have news to cover this week. But as we get closer to the end of the year, there's going to be absolutely nothing. Before we dive in, I do, of course, want to say thank you to Squarespace for supporting this episode. Do I have Squarespace up? Somehow, I closed it. So let me go ahead and bring that up. I want to thank Squarespace for supporting this episode. You've heard me talk about Squarespace probably 1,000 times at this point. But it's because I use it, I love it. And if you don't have a website up and you've been thinking like, I need a website for my business, or maybe you are a business professional or a student or something, you want to promote your skill set, Squarespace has a really easy to use template system that will have you up and running in no time. It will look beautiful on any device that visits. If you want to, this is not working. Hold on a sec. Why is that not working? There we go. Huh. No, that did not work either. Do you guys see the browser moving?
I would have to go and look at YouTube then, wouldn't I?
Yeah,
let's try
this.
this.
Live stream up either.
Aha! That fixed it. Sorry, I had a hiccup in OBS. Let me fix that.
I can't do it.
Don't worry about it. I fixed it on the fly. Let's see, there are some things I can do on the fly. And this
You're
is
like a
one of them.
wizard.
Well, I've heard that I've heard that before. But so anyway, yeah, Squarespace, if you're thinking, I need a website and I don't know how to code, or maybe you do know how to code, but you just don't want to build your own website, Squarespace has a beautiful template system that you can use to build websites of all different types. I use them primarily for cultcloth.co, which is my e-commerce store. It's so easy to set up, easy to run, integrates with all the services I need to run my business. But you could use it to build a portfolio. You could start a membership website where people can pay to join your community. You can sell courses and digital products. I mean, you can literally do it all at squarespace.com/cultcast. I always tell people, just go check it out and build a website, see how you like it, squarespace.com/cultcast. At the end of the trial, if you want to keep what you have, you can use code CultCast at checkout. You'll get 10% off your first purchase. And if you do a year of service, which is what I do, you get a substantial discount and a free domain name at squarespace.com/cultcast and use the offer code CultCast at checkout to get that discount on your first purchase. Okay, let's dive right in. Who am I going to first here? That's right, Lewis. It's going to be you.
How about me?
Talk to us about, I know that you are a big Action Button fan. Talk to us about what's coming next for Action Button. You're a man of action, so this story is appropriate for you.
Yeah, this is great news if this is all turns out to be true. Supposedly next year's iPhone 16 lineup, every model is going to get an Action Button, not just the Pro ones. And supposedly it'll be a capacitive button and have, bring a whole bunch of additional functionality. I mean, right now, the only problem with the Action Button is that it only does one thing, right? I mean, you have to pick what it is and then you can't do it. So you have to pick exactly what it is. You have to do it does that. And then, maybe you want to have to do two things, right? Anyway, Action Button hardware and software limitations, as well as the size and placement, leave some people wanting more. Because it is a great thing, but maybe you want it to work a little bit differently. Upgrade could be coming soon. Apple apparently plans to enhance the Action Button next year and expand it to the rest of the iPhone lineup. This is according to a Mac Rumors report. I think came out last week, and it's based on an internal Apple document. The leaked document purportedly provides insight into Apple's plans for the Action Button on the 2024 iPhones. I love it when they give us the code names. The code name of the project is
Those
Atlas.
are key. Those are key for me. I keep track of those in my journal.
Really, it adds interest. So that's the name of the project. It's supposed to boost the Action Button functionality. Supposedly, Apple's been experimenting with different sizes for the hardware. Some internal prototypes feature a button bigger than the one on the iPhone 15 Pro. And on some other models, the button size is similar to the volume keys. This is a quote from Mac Rumors. According to internal documentation, easy for me to say. According to internal documentation, the updated Action Button will feature a force sensor, which detects changes in pressure, as well as, quote, tact switching functionality, although exactly what the latter entails is currently unclear. So we don't know exactly what it's going to do, but it sounds like it's going to be a lot more capable than the current one. It's still not clear where Apple's going to put it. Some people, like our own Leandra Caney, wish that it wasn't where it is on the iPhone Pro. And I
it's in the perfect place.
That. It's too high, especially on the Pro Max. I have to grab the phone with my one hand and slide my hand all the way up to get to the Action Button.
Well, look, maybe that's a sign that the phone is too big and not that the button's in the wrong place.
I'm sure that is true. The phone is definitely too big, but hey, what are you going to do? Got to get that 3X or 5X, excuse me, 5X.
Look, if you have normal man-sized hands and not tiny little Alexi Heath paws.
Oh, here we go.
Look at this. Look at this. It looks like a bear holding a phone. Just look at that grip right there. You're telling me you can't do that? And that's what I love about it, is I can hold the phone.
I mean, I hold it like this, and then I have to go like this. I have to slide my hand up to get to that part. It's too far up. I agree with Leandra Caney 100%. If you haven't read his article, you should go read it right now. How Apple can make it better. Make that Action Button better. Because everybody does anybody not like the Action Button?
I love it. I use it all the time. But look at this. I can activate it while I'm holding my phone.
Okay, you're also holding your phone backwards, gripping the screen.
Yeah, you do everything backward.
That's because I use it with the flashlight. What do you guys use yours for? That's all I need it for. I got a flashlight button right there.
I use it for the flashlight too. And it does come in handy.
Yeah.
I got to say.
So you're saying that you use it. But look, I'm holding it like this. Got my thumb up there. Can you not do that?
Is that really like the resting position of your phone that you just naturally pick it up and hold it?
But look, I'm holding.
Oh, okay, so you do have to shift your hand around because that's not how you hold your phone.
Well, look, I'm holding my phone, and all I gotta do is move my thumb right there. This is wonderful audio. By the way.
I don't know.
Okay, anyway.
It's about an inch and a half higher than it ought to be.
Okay, but the problem is you hold it with your right hand, right? You usually hold it with your right hand.
No, left hand.
Really? Huh?
Left. That's my left hand.
Okay. Well, I don't know what to tell you then. Maybe I just have abnormally long thumbs or something. Or maybe yours are abnormally short. It's one of those two things.
At least you're not using a prehensile tail or something. If they can make it so that you can do different things in different ways, with a capacitive thing like, a long press or a quick double press or whatever. However, if they could tweak the functionality so that you could have it do multiple things, I think that would be great. I mean, although I suppose then you run into the sort of risk of like, I can't remember how I set this thing up. Right now, it does have a certain remarkable simplicity.
Okay, hold on a second. We got Streamline from the chat. A lot of people rest their phone on their pinky, which makes the action button unreachable. Au contraire,
exactly.
Mon frere. Look at this. I'm literally doing that right now. Do you see me pressing the action button?
Is that a Pro Max?
This is the Pro Max. I know it doesn't look like a Pro Max because in my Max size hands, it looks like a regular size phone. I think we've discovered the problem here is it's a hand size thing. And I don't begrudge you that, Lewis. I'm
glad to hear that. Thank you very much for not.
All I'm saying is that
my hand size.
When each of us eats cheese, one of us uses one hand and one of us uses two. It must be a hand size thing. Yeah. Did we lose Lewis?
Drop the cheese.
Oh, there he is. Sorry, Lewis. You cut out for a second.
Kind of broke up there for a second. I don't know. I was just going to say, yeah, it broke up for a second there.
Okay. I heard you saying something about cheese. All right. Well.
Yeah. You don't want to drop the cheese.
You definitely don't. And if you do, I wouldn't pick it back up and eat it at that point. Like once the cheese hits the ground, because it's kind of sticky, it sticks to everything on the floor. Not a good idea. I'm excited about this for the potential of Apple to replace the current action button with a touch capacitive button. Sounds like they're going to be bringing Force Touch or like a Force Touch-ish functionality back to the button, which would give it a lot more functionality, which would be super cool. And if they do that, I might even upgrade from the 16 or from the 15 to the 16. And if I do, I might go back to the regular iPhone too. I love the Max. Someone was asking me the other day if I feel like the Max is manageable. I think it is much more manageable because they shrunk the size of it in this current iteration. It's not as big as it used to be, but I do kind of miss the smaller phone. Is Lewis totally frozen? Look at him.
He is totally frozen.
It looks like he's stuck in a hurricane.
I will also say that like if they were to swap out on the regular sized Pro phone the 3x lens for the 5x lens, then I would see absolutely no purpose to get the plus size phone whatsoever.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. And well, I would have gotten the smaller phone anyway this round, but I let Twitter decide for me, which was probably not a smart idea in hindsight. Well, we also have some information on the iPhone 17 and beyond. There was an interesting rumor that I saw this week that Apple is getting ready. Let me pull this up, actually. Is preparing a full screen iPhone, which I think would be really cool. Lewis was just saying he doesn't want to lose the dynamic island, which we can talk about here in a second. But apparently, Apple has already gotten samples from LG, who is working on this technology with them. And the idea being that they're going to be able to place the cameras behind the screen and not have a cutout at all, although they will have a cutout for the next iPhone. It seems like it's going to be smaller because the FaceTime camera is going to be placed underneath the screen. At least that's the rumor so far. So, which is, what they'll do, like with the notch. Well, they have the notch, they shrink the notch, and the notch goes away. They have the dynamic island. It's big. They're going to shrink it, and then eventually it goes away. The problem that they have now is when you put the camera underneath the display, it receives a lot less light. So they're trying to solve that problem by increasing the light sensitivity. But it looks like Apple has the plans to shrink the dynamic island, place the Face ID camera underneath the screen on the next iPhone, and then for the iPhone 17, have all the cameras underneath the screen and have a full screen iPhone. And I guess the dynamic island would probably still pop up when you invoke actions that would require notification in the dynamic island. Because Lewis, you were saying that you love the dynamic island. I'm the same way. It's one of the best features about newer iPhones is being able to see the status of what's going on in your phone, like in the dynamic island. Lewis, are you even still there?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Turn your video off and then turn it back on for a sec, because I think it froze on us. And you got a crazy expression on your face.
Crazier than usual.
I know it's hard to believe, but yeah, you look like Chunk from the Goonies.
Great.
That's the expression that you had. Yeah, your video.
So is it back now, or should I just
leave it on? Let's see if it comes back. But what were you gonna say about the dynamic island?
Yeah, I love the dynamic island. I love, having podcast information up there when I'm listening to a podcast and doing something else. On the flight here, I was using the United Airlines app, and it had the ETA, of when we're supposed to land in the dynamic island. I was like, wow, that's cool. I mean, the dynamic island is cool, and it only gets better as more and more app developers add stuff to it. I think it actually surprises and delights me. That definitely did when I saw my ETA pop up there. I was like, wow, that's awesome.
I'll say that even if they move the camera off of that screen, even if they move the sensors out of there, like there's no like hardware reason for it to be there. I don't see any reason why they would get rid of like the live activities or in the status bar or anything like that. I just imagine like the future of that being like, well, maybe it isn't pitch black anymore. Maybe they can have like sort of like an accent tint color that's like the same color of the status bar, but the live activities will be like a little darker background. I don't see any reason why the live activities have to go away. I think that with the camera out of the way, it'll free up space to have more on there simultaneously. Maybe you could have 3 or 4 of the little icons going on up at once. That'd be kind of crazy.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're too invested.
Extra dynamic.
What was that, Lewis?
Extra dynamic.
The extra dynamic island. I agree. I think they're too invested in this functionality to get rid of it. And maybe the way it would work is when you're not using the dynamic island, it would just disappear, or it would be present but in a much smaller form, since there wouldn't be any reason for it to be as large as it is. But it is kind of nice having it on the screen showing you the statuses of what you have going on in the background. Like I use it all the time. It's almost like a new button on my phone. So if I'm listening to a YouTube video in the background, I can see that it's playing in the dynamic island, and I can press on the dynamic island and the video opens back up. Like that's actually pretty handy. So it almost adds button functionality to the apps that you have going in the background that are giving you statuses, which I find to be super useful. When I first saw them presented, I was like, oh, that looks cool, but it wasn't something that I was particularly excited about. But now that I have it, I'm like, oh, this actually is a genius piece of UX, and they've integrated it so well into so many different apps that it's one that I use all the time. So I think it will exist in some form or another once we go full screen. But it is cool, like to have a full screen iPhone with nothing cut out of the screen. That's the dream right there. That's when we've reached peak Cook. I
can imagine like an alternate reality where developers don't implement it or people don't really like it, and as they develop the under camera hardware and they move the sensors out of the way, they would just sort of make the whole thing disappear and forget about it, kind of like the touch bar.
Yeah.
How they just like, well, people don't like it, so they just brushed it away after a while. But I think since people like it, they're going to stick it around, and because it's the only affordance the iPhone has for running multiple things on the same screen at once. There's like picture in picture. The iPhone doesn't really do that otherwise, so it's immensely useful in that regard.
Yeah, agreed. Sorry if I keep looking out the window here to my right. I was telling the guys, I have this package that's being delivered today, and of course they want a signature for it. And I was like, as soon as we start going live, the UPS guy who doesn't like me is going to show up with this package and be standing out there looking annoyed that I'm not coming down because he could see me from my driveway. And he's going to be waving me down, trying to get me to sign for this thing. And I'm not going to come down. I'm going to just have to ignore him, which is going to make him even more annoyed with me than he normally is. I don't know why this guy doesn't like me, by the way. I have no idea. I've been nothing but nice to this guy, but every time I see him, he cops an attitude. He's not happy to see me. Like, he loves my neighbor, so when he shows up, he'll be like, hey, right? They're like high-fiving, no joke, talking in the yard, and then he turns around, and as soon as he sees me, his face goes completely expressionless, and he becomes instantly annoyed, and I honestly could not tell you why. Like, I've been nothing but nice to this guy. I try to talk to him when he comes up the driveway, and he is not having it. I don't know what I did to this guy, but there's something about me he doesn't like.
Wow.
Which I guess I can understand doing this podcast. You're like, some people you just rub the wrong way. And they're like, I wish you just wouldn't do X, Y, Z. And there's like a list of things that they hate about you. You're like, that's my personality. I'm sorry. I can't not do those things, you know? Sorry, Luce, what were you going to say?
Do you keep ordering really heavy items and demanding that he bring them up the steep stairs?
No, but I should pay him back. All my stuff is lightweight. It's like
order an anvil.
I'm going to order an anvil with in-home delivery and pickup of my old anvil. He's going to love that. All right, well, before we continue on, do you want to do the giveaway here, Lewis? And I want to tell everyone about a really interesting new sponsor that we have, which I honestly think is going to be a holiday present that is unlike anything anyone has ever heard of. But I'll let you do the giveaway first so that we can let the people know what we have that we're giving away this week.
Yeah, it's a good one this week. Once again, we got a 3-in-1 MagSafe travel charger from Mophie. This thing looks great. It retails for $149.95. Compact charger, perfect for anyone with a busy schedule who's on the go. You can charge multiple devices simultaneously at maximum speed. It folds up, it's real small. It's like I said, 3-in-1 charger. It can handle iPhone, Apple Watch, and AirPods all at once. It comes with a handy travel pouch. Everybody likes a travel pouch, right? Keeps everything securely together, plus USB-C cable and a wall adapter. I think we gave one of these away a while back.
I think you might be right about that.
I actually went in there this time and entered. Don't tell Adele. I entered. I like the looks of this thing, and it's nice to have a travel charger, a 3-in-1 travel charger when you're on the road, right? As usual, people can go and enter. All you gotta do is go to the homepage, cultofmac.com, scroll down to the giveaway thing, click on there. There's multiple ways to enter. Things like, it's even as simple as like going and visiting. I don't know if it's Mophie or Zag. Zag is the parent brand of Mophie. But you just go, like sometimes you just go in, visit their Twitter page or something, and you get a free entry. You can also sign up for the Cult of Mac Today newsletter, which I always am happy to say is a fantastic thing. Free every day, all the top news and how-tos and reviews that we publish on Cult of Mac. So
this is one of the best things. This is one of the best things that we've given away. In fact, can you ask them if they'll send me one of these to review? Just ask. This is what the MagSafe Duo should have been. Instead of being the turd that it turned out to be, the overpriced turd, it could have been great.
T-word twice?
Yeah. Well, I wanted to add a little extra descriptor on there, an overpriced turd, because it never fully delivered on what it said it was going to do. It was slow. It used lightning. And this is like the MagSafe Trio, because it can do a phone, it can do your AirPods, it can do your Apple Watch all at the same time. This is the ultimate portable travel charger, I think. And I would love to test it out. And I wouldn't even just use this for travel. I would use one of these at my desk. Just have it at my desk and use it for charging, it's like a charging station.
Yeah.
These 3-in-1 chargers are like the gift to give somebody who has an iPhone and an Apple Watch. Even if they don't have AirPods, they're just like an awesome thing to give to somebody.
Yeah, they're definitely useful, and there's something that you can use not just when you're traveling, which I guess is what I was trying to get at, because this is kind of like a minimalist, compact travel setup that you could use at your desk or on your dresser or anywhere you want to just have your devices charging, and you don't want to have some big like Belkin charger. Those chargers are nice, but they're larger. And this is a little bit more sleek and slim. Well, I'll post a link of this, obviously, in the show notes. Let me drop it here in the chat as well, if you all want to enter. And I want to tell you all about an interesting new sponsor that we have. And when I was looking over their product, I was like, this actually is kind of a really cool anniversary present or a Christmas gift or an anniversary gift. And I'm not just saying that, like, it's not an ad for like sexy pajamas, you know what I mean? Like those ads you'll hear, it's like, get her the ultimate gift. I'm like, oh yeah, that's what she wants, sexy pajamas. This is a gift that your wife, your mom, your daughter, your son, your father, this is a gift that actually would have endless nostalgic and significant value. This company is called, let me bring this up. This company's called SongFinch. And let me set it up this way for you, Lewis. Imagine sitting with your wife and playing them a song that was written just for them with lyrics that reflect their life, your life together, your kids, anything that is significant to you and your partner. We're talking Tier City, USA. Like your spouse would love something like this. And that's what SongFinch does. They write you an original song inspired by your story, recorded by a professional artist. I just went through the whole process to get my song set up. They haven't actually given me my song yet, which I'll talk about in the future. It's really easy. So they have a bunch of artists available, and you can play music from those artists to hear what their song style is like, and then you select one. And once you've done that, you provide some brief details about your life, things about your partner, things about your life together, things that you like about them. And you can set up the song to be different genres, or you can provide different attributes, like you want the song to be comedic or heartfelt or happy, lighthearted, and the artist will write you a custom song with all the information that you've provided, and you'll have this custom song delivered to you in, I think, about a week. It's a really interesting gift idea, and I know it's hard to buy some people gifts, and if you have someone in your life that's sentimental, that would love to have a custom song written about your experience together, you could even have them write it about you in a comedic fashion if you are so inclined. I think it makes a really terrific gift, so don't tell, because she doesn't know yet, but I'm having one written for my wife and our children, and I just know when I play this song, you're gonna get that great catharsis, you know, when you give a gift that someone actually really loves, which is so rare these days, especially for me. I feel like it's hard to shop for gifts for me, but as a music lover, I think this is something that I would appreciate too. If you want to try it out for a limited time, SongFinch is letting our listeners upload their song to Spotify for free. Oh, wait a second. I misread that. Go to songfinch.com/cultcast and start your song. After you purchase, you'll be prompted to add Spotify streaming for your original song for free. That's a $50 value. SongFinch is letting our listeners upload their song to Spotify for free so you can listen to your new favorite song anywhere you go. This offer is only available for our listeners at our special URL, songfinch.com/cultcast. That's songfinch.com/cultcast. I'll spell it for you just in case I'm not saying it clearly. songfinch.com/cultcast. And be sure to share your song with me when you have it written. I would love to hear your song, especially if it's heartfelt. Maybe even send me like a picture of you listening to it so I could see your tears or your wife's tears. That would be
live
cool.
picture.
But yeah, I'm interested to see how my song turns out. I will let you all. I may even play it on the show once it's done. It depends on how sentimental it is, because there are going to be personal details from my own life and my wife's life together in the song. So I'm like really curious to hear how the artist weaves that together. But I am really eager to hear the song and then play it for my wife, probably on Christmas morning or something with my kids in the room. That's songfinch.com/cultcast. Okay, let's see here. Let's move on to the exciting stories. We've got new iPads on the way. We've got a new MacBook Air on the way. I'm going to send it over to the Grifster to kick us off with the MacBook Air. Getting a huge update. Huge update, Griffin.
Sure. So the MacBook Air is getting the speedy M3 chip in spring 2024. The M3 made its debut just a few months ago on the MacBook Pro and the iMac. The Apple M3 processor will make its way to the MacBook Air line in March 2024, according to a trusted source of insider info. Both the 13-inch and 15-inch versions of the laptop will receive the chip upgrade. As we know, when the MacBook Air was redesigned and moved to M2, it came like a full year before they debuted the 15-inch model. Apparently, like the story there was that the 15-inch model, like Apple had trouble sourcing the displays for them, but supposedly now, indefinitely they're going to update these computers both at the same time in lockstep. The first Apple Silicon for Mac, the M1, launched back in 2020. It was replaced by the M2 in 2022. This is a fairly modest improvement over the original version, but the M3 that Apple announced in fall 2023 brings more of a boost. The performance cores in the new chips are up to 30% faster than M1, and the efficiency cores are up to 50% faster, according to Apple. And as we were covering a little bit, even on the base model M3, the improvements in graphics are significant. You have hardware accelerated ray tracing and what's the other one? Mesh shading, something like that. If you plan on doing any kind of gaming on your Mac, which we might talk about again later in the show, even the base model MacBook Air is going to do a pretty competent job of that. So no other details like pricing were revealed about the 2024 MacBook Air, so it's likely the processor upgrade will be the only significant change to the notebook's design. And that'd be pretty typical. Like the new MacBook Pros didn't have any hardware, any physical changes on the exterior whatsoever. We can assume the same things can happen with the MacBook Air. Comparable models didn't go up in price, so we can assume that the prices are probably going to be the same too. So just a spec bump, but a welcome one.
Can I add just real fast here, Griffin?
Yeah.
I could have anticipated that we would have been getting these soon just from the way that Apple is liquidating the M1 MacBook Airs. Like they have been dropping the prices on those like crazy. I got the base M1 MacBook Air for my wife recently. It was $750. I mean, in fact, I just saw that, was it Costco or maybe Amazon was offering the same price again. And I was like, dude, that is super cheap for an M1 MacBook Air. It seems like they're trying to clear these out. And usually when they do that, it means that they have another newer model coming in, and then the M2 will become the older model. Anyway.
That is the arguably the more interesting part of the story is how are they going to trickle down the rest of the computers? Because Apple really I think Apple knows that keeping a MacBook Air of any kind at $999 is really important for their sales numbers. So I guess the question is are they going to drop the M2 MacBook Air to $999? Will they be able to reach that price point? Because I think if they do that, then they're not going to sell very many M3 MacBook Airs because they're going to have two computers that arguably aren't that different that have the same design. One of them costs $1,000. One of them costs $1,200.
Well, I don't think Apple will do it, but they'll use their proxies. This is the way they always do it, man. Like the people who shop directly at Apple pay the highest prices, but they liquidate computers like crazy through Best Buy, through B&H, through Adorama, there is a military exchange website called AAFES, I think, shopmyexchange.com. They liquidate them through them. So they have all these partners that will get computers from Apple, and you see this on eBay a lot too. And Apple will just use these proxies to liquidate stuff at super cheap prices. They wouldn't do it themselves because they don't want to devalue their brand. But if Best Buy does it, then Apple doesn't have to worry about their brand being devalued because they're not the ones doing it. It's Best Buy doing it. They're going to be the cut rate retailer, right? Like Apple would never do that to themselves. So I think you will start seeing big discounts on the M2. They're still selling M1 Max MacBook Pros. B&H keeps having this deal on the M1 Max where you can buy a fully spec'd out M1 Max MacBook Pro 16-inch with 4 terabyte SSD, 64 gigs of RAM for $2,300. $2,300. I mean, that same machine would have cost probably over $5,000. It probably exists at $5,000 at other retailers. and that's still a super comparable machine. If you're looking at like even the M3 Pro model MacBook Pro, I still think the M1 Max MacBook Pro is probably a better fit or a better choice for content creators because it beats the M3 Pro MacBook Pros in so many tests because Apple nerfed that chip so hard that it can't even compete with the M1 Max now. I digress. This is a complete tangent. Shall we talk about iPads now, Griffin?
Very well. 12.9-inch iPad Air and OLED iPad Pro pegged for March release as well. So as we know, there were no new iPads released this year. This is the first time since the iPad was introduced that they didn't come out with any new iPads. The last time an Apple tablet came on the market was fall 2022, and the long drought will supposedly extend for another few months, but March 2024 will bring a bonanza, according to a report Wednesday from Mark Gurman. Never heard of him. A 12.9-inch iPad Air is supposedly on the docket, along with an updated 10.9-inch version. The larger version of the Air has been the subject of previous leaks from a reliable source, but the new report is the closest to having a specific date. The current version of this iPad OS tablet, it's a weird turn of phrase, just call it an iPad, is built around an Apple M1 processor. The 2024 model will upgrade to an M3 chip, offering even better performance without sacrificing battery life. And to go along with that, also making March 2024 into a busy month will be an iPad Pro with an OLED screen. Leaks about this have been circulating for years, and apparently it's finally going to happen in a few months, according to Bloomberg. A previous leak revealed that Apple is working on a new Magic Keyboard featuring a larger trackpad. I think that could be really interesting. It's apparently designed to make the new tablets look more like laptops. This will also supposedly debut in March. And Wednesday's report has one more tidbit. Gurman says a third-generation Apple Pencil will launch with all the new tablets too, but no additional details are available. So I was talking about this the last few times that iPads have come up. You know, the story is that Apple is going to be raising the prices on the iPad Pros, especially switching to OLED screen. That's going to be expensive at that kind of like resolution and size that they're doing. I was thinking that they would take this opportunity to switch the iPad Pros to like a 13-inch and maybe a 15-inch size. Have a truly massive like laptop replacement iPad. But apparently they're keeping the same size classes, which is interesting. But it sounds like nonetheless they're going to be shifting the iPad Pros up market, and the iPad Air is going to sort of fill that void. Because I think right now the iPad Air is a little too close to the base model iPad, and there's not really enough value add on the iPad Pro anymore, so I feel like this will finally resolve the iPad lineup in that way.
We had a story a while back. I don't remember the details, but it was that Apple was planning to increase prices for the iPad Pro. There was some Twitter thread I was participating in, and the prices that I saw were bonkers, like insane price increases. And
I want to say like $1,300 for the small one and like $1,800 for the big one.
That sounds about right. I mean, it was so significant that I was like, who would ever spend that much money on an iPad Pro? An iPad Pro, as much as they want to frame it as something that is a pro machine, it's not. Who's creating on an iPad? I mean, unless you're an artist, then I would say that, yeah, it probably is a professional tool in that instance. But when I think of pro, it's like it's a pro tool or it's not a pro tool. Like a MacBook Pro is a pro tool, something that you use to actually create content that makes you money or create things that makes you money. The iPad Pro, I still don't think is in that realm because the apps don't exist.
I can imagine what the updated iPad Air will be like, but I'm curious about the iPad Pro because they're going to have to do more than give it an OLED screen to justify that price, if that price is accurate. I'll be curious to see what they do because, Apple cares a lot about displays, but I know they're not trying to sell the iPad Pro to everybody, but like not everybody cares about OLED versus mini LED,
Yeah.
Or whatever the current ones are using.
We got a $5 super chat here in the chat.
Uh-oh.
And it's actually a good comment from Anthony Hernandez. I feel like they need to step up the iPads because Samsung Tab S9 are killing it. OLED on all models and better multitasking. What's funny about that comment is I see Samsung tablets for sale all the time, and I always wonder, like, does anyone buy these? because it seems like there is no tablet market. There are only iPads. And then there are people who don't want to spend the money on iPads that may end up with a Samsung product. I have to admit, I've actually never used a Samsung tab, but it seems to me like they are the tablets that people buy when they really wanted an iPad, but didn't want to spend the money on an iPad. And Samsung is good at giving features for their phones and tablets that seem like they're going to be really cool, but then when you get to the user experience as a whole, it doesn't really feel that good. It doesn't feel cohesive. Like, it just kind of feels like they just bolted it on to put it on a piece of marketing literature. So I don't know, man. Have you used one of those, Anthony? Have you used one of those actual Samsung tabs, and are they any good? Yeah.
On that note, I'll mention that, like, the Surface tablets, I don't personally like them, but I think they have a spot in the market too. Like, their hardware is really underpowered just because, Windows on ARM is kind of garbage and nobody's making good processors, and Microsoft is kind of half-assing the software. But, like, they have a spot in the world. There is room for both Surface and iPad. But, like, man, Android tablets, that's retro. That's very, like, 2012.
Okay, we got Betty Rise in the chat. iPad Pros are a must for architects. As an architect, I use Morpholio to sketch for clients and use it as a presentation piece. Okay, so it looks like there are some professional use cases for it. And maybe if you're a music producer, it might be good for that as well. And if you're drawing, I definitely see the appeal to an iPad for sure. I'm really curious to see what they do for the iPad Pencil 3. I was thinking about buying another iPad Pencil because mine is kind of old and the battery life is not what it once was. But I use it so infrequently, which is probably why the battery life isn't great, that it just kind of sits around with a dead battery a lot. But if they're planning on putting out a 13-inch or an iPad Pencil 3, I would definitely wait for that. iPad Pro 12.9 inches is what Betty uses. I'm really curious to see what that iPad Air 12.9 inches is like, because that might be the one for me. I don't need all the bells and whistles for my iPad. I primarily use it to watch Dr. Disrespect videos at night before I go to bed. And then occasionally I will do some writing in it or I might use OneNote, but I don't use any professional apps at all. So there you go.
Speculation that Apple needs to redesign the Pencil because they want to move the camera to the horizontal edge of the screen. But as it is right now, they can't have both the camera module there and the little magnetic chargers that the Pencil 2 attaches to.
I hate that these pencils are only compatible with very select models of iPad, right? So like the iPad Pencil or the Apple Pencil 2, it only works with some iPad Pros. And now we have the iPad Pencil 1 updated with USB-C, and that only works with like the cheaper iPads. And now they're going to release this new iPad, I keep calling it iPad Pencil, freaking Apple Pencil. And to your point, Griffin, it will probably only work with the newer generation of iPads. So that's probably why they're updating it. So now there's just no versatility. Like I hate having to buy a new Apple Pencil every time I get the new iPad. I wish my old iPad worked with my new iPad worked with the old Pencil, but what are you going to do? If they price this thing at $1,300, I'm not going to buy it anyway. There's no way I'm spending $1,300 for an iPad. Absolutely no way. That's even too much for me. Even with a discount, like if I got a discount on it, like $1,000 for an iPad that I just use as an entertainment machine might be too much for me. We got Roz Hall in the chat. Roz Hall is a extraordinarily talented artist. In fact, I could show you some artwork that he drew for the CultCast years ago. If I have it here, I actually might show it. He says, iPad needs a Chromium-based browser, then it could be my favorite device. I think that's on the way. Too many web apps don't run on Safari. Yeah, I know. As much as I love Safari, it is not nearly as functional as Chrome is in many regards. So I hear that. But I do think that as part of the EU regulations that Apple is adapting their products to, they are going to allow browsers to not have to be built. How do I describe this? The browsers that are put on the iPad in iOS and iPadOS they have stringent ways that they can be built, and Apple is relaxing a lot of those rules to allow different browser types on the iPad in the future. So I think that you may actually see like a real version of Chrome come to the iPad in the future, and not like the Safari version of Chrome, if that makes any sense. Okay, let's see here. Where are we? I think that's it. Oh no, Lewis, do you want to talk about this push notification thing and how the Russians are going to hunt you down and get you if you use too many notifications?
Sure. Yeah, this is kind of a big story this week. Some governments are spying on push notifications sent to iPhone users and Android phone users. But Apple confirmed this Wednesday. It's all got kind of revealed because Senator Roy Wyden published an open letter to Attorney General Merrick B. Garland Wednesday, requesting disclosure of this surveillance method. And the way it all played out then is that Apple basically said, "Oh, yeah, well now that this is we were requested not by the federal government not to discuss this, but now that it's public knowledge, now we can." And they've updated their website already now. So basically, if police want to get a log of your push notifications, for Apple, all they got to do is get a subpoena, and Apple, give these things over. And, some people are like, well, it's just a push notification. But, by examining logs of these push notifications sent by all the apps you use, authorities can piece together surprisingly detailed information about smartphone users and what they're up to. And this is all because the push, as opposed to like iMessage, which is end-to-end encrypted, push notifications go through Apple servers. That makes them susceptible to government demands for information. So if you think about it, like gaining access to push notifications sent by a delivery app or a car sharing service might let the feds or the police or the Russian government, who knows which governments are making these requests, might allow them to pinpoint an iPhone user's location. They can even piece together interactions between you and somebody else, right, from notifications that the app sends. So it's very a bit troubling, a little bit confusing. The first day, Wyden's letter said that it was governments, didn't name any governments, didn't name anything like that. Washington Post today reported that let me see. Well, it's not in the notes here. What the Washington Post reported was that they found, I think, 9 different court filings that mentioned push notifications. And some of those were January 6th investigations. Some were, I think there was like a pedophile thing. There were several different things that U.S. authorities are definitely going for this kind of information. So it's interesting the way it got kind of revealed, this open letter from the lawmaker. But so now everybody knows, and I suppose if you're doing something you shouldn't be doing with your your delivery app or something, now you know.
You better send this to El Kini so he knows that those notifications from Silk Road are going straight to the DEA. Well, did they close down Silk Road? I'm sure he found another site to replace them.
So you thought this was like some kind of weird conspiracy theory or something?
No. I was joking, but it does kind of sound like one, doesn't it? It's like, oh, the government's monitoring your push notifications, and it turns out, oh, they actually can and sometimes do monitor your push notifications. Yeah. And looks like they can be requested if it looks like Google requires a court order, not just a subpoena. But in some instances, it could just be a subpoena, and then they can use your push notifications to get all sorts of information about you, including your location. So,
yeah, I mean, some of these notifications have some, text metadata included in them, right? So,
right.
Who knows? I don't know enough about the ins and outs of what exactly is in these push notification logs, but everything I've read about it makes it sound like, you can get a fairly detailed look at what's going on. And, if you're like, one of the examples I read was, for instance, let's say you and I were going to do something nefarious. And so we start sending text messages to each other, like the bridge blows up, and the day before that we had 57 text messages back and forth. Even though they can't get the the information, the actual text in the text message, because that is encrypted, they could still say, well, look, Lewis and Irfan seem to be just on fire with the text messages yesterday, and then the bridge blew up and they completely stopped. So you could see how they could use, if they really honed in on a few people, let's say a network of terrorists or something, they could start to piece things together, and they might be able to, gather some information that could be useful in a criminal investigation.
I just want to say for the record, I disavow everything that Lewis just said. We have no plans to blow up anything, especially not a bridge or anything like that.
We're just going to blow up just the podcast ratings. Going to blow up the podcast ratings.
that I wouldn't mind. The podcast ratings, the podcast listeners blow it up. That part I would not mind. But it's purely a metaphor and an analogy. So I just want to put that out there for anyone who's listening.
YouTube's AI just shut us right down.
Well, you're broadcasting from some cabin in the middle of nowhere,
it's literally a cabin in the woods.
You're talking about blowing. Yeah, I just want to put that out there that this is just purely for anecdotal reasons. Okay. I think that covers everything. Yeah. Because this last thing might get weaved into our next story. So let's go ahead and move into our last segment of the show. Like I said, we're going to be doing this all of December, since things are going to be slowing down. It's a great time of the year to do our picks of the year. So this is anything that we loved in 2023. Oftentimes it's things that came out in 2023, or in the year that we're doing them. Not always, but these could be shows, they could be movies, they could be gadgets. I mean, anything that we were really into this year. Does anyone want to start? Any brave souls want to jump right in?
I'll go for it.
All right. What's your first pick here?
My first pick, this is, there's an article on Cult of Mac, or a review that just went up on Monday. I'm going to talk about Stray. This is a game. Okay. It's a pretty big game. It came out for the PC, the Xbox, the PlayStation a while ago. They actually just came out with the Mac port of it. I was invited to pre-test it before it went on sale in the Mac App Store. This is a game where you play as a little cat. First person game as a cat. So you're jumping up walls, you're climbing across girders, running through alley streets and all that. Except you're going through a city populated by robots.
Huh.
And the plot of the game is you're trying to escape this walled city and get back outside, of this sort of bubble city that you find yourself in. I think it's really interesting though that they came out with a port for the Mac. And I was really curious, Apple's talking a big game about every time they release a new Mac, they talk about, oh yeah, and these are the new AAA titles that you can play on it. So when they asked about this, I was like, well, okay, but how good is a Mac for gaming anyways? We kind of make fun of them on this show for causing a big hubbub about gaming when, it's so rare that there are any games worth trying on the Mac, but the experience is really nice. You think about it, I have a pretty cheap Mac Mini. I got the M2 Pro, but I didn't max out the CPU or GPU or anything like that. I upgraded things like storage and memory, but any Mac Mini that you can buy for $1,300 can run truly impressive graphics at 1440p 60 frames per second. The Mac gaming experience is really nice. You don't need to have this giant honking tower with
hey now watch yourself. Watch yourself. You're hitting too close to home.
It's a tiny little rectangle sitting on my desk. Fans don't even spin up. You can't even hear the dang thing.
Well, what fun is that?
And
it doesn't sound like a helicopter. That's part of the experience, Griffin. That's why you gotta wear headphones.
The game that you're actually playing, believe it or not. It's really easy to pair a controller with it. I use a PlayStation 4 controller. You just hold down these special buttons, and then it opens up. It opens up Launchpad directly to your games folder. You can just launch it right from there. It's super easy. Playing with a nice controller. They also support the Xbox and Nintendo Switch controllers. It's a great experience. And I think this could be, I feel like Apple is, they're setting the table. They're inviting these developers over. I feel like we could be on the precipice at the crest of a wave of a new era of Mac gaming.
That's a bold claim.
Mm-hmm.
May I also say how unbelievably cute these two kitty cats are right here? They look like they're miniature. Like, are those normal sized cats? I'm showing the
Click
picture.
the link in the show notes. You can read my review of it.
Well, no, not the cats in the game. Your actual cats. The cats sitting next to your computer. They seem like
they're not very large cats.
That's a 55-inch screen. Those cats are gigantic.
They're actually, mutant cats. I found them. I found them in a toxic waste zone. Brought them home with me. Of course, they're climbing all over your computer stuff, as a cat would do. I have a love-hate relationship with cats. I do love them, but they are annoying.
I love them, but they do chew the cables on my computers and cause problems every once in a while.
They think they own everything. They just walk all over your stuff. They don't care about anything. They're so rude. They just don't care.
I get two questions, Griffin.
Mm-hmm.
One, can you walk up and spray the wall in the game like a tomcat?
No, but you can claw the wallpaper.
Okay, close enough. Okay, question two is maybe you said this, I didn't hear. Is this actually available now? Because I know when the review ran on Monday, it's like we thought the game was going to be out, but it was delayed or something. Is it up now?
It was put up on the Mac App Store on Tuesday, and my press contact never told me that information. So I assumed that the embargo date was going to be when it would be available, and it was actually available before the embargo date, but then it disappeared. So that was a perplexing 24 hours.
How weird.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm glad to hear that it's actually available now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. No, wasn't expecting you to go with a cat game, but that is interesting.
Well, then you don't know me well enough.
Yeah, I wouldn't have pegged you as a game guy. Do you actually play games?
Oh yeah, I'm a real pro gamer.
Okay. Playing on a Mac. I mean, I knew that as soon as you told me you gamed on a Mac. That much was clear.
But before that, I was playing Tetris. Super Mario Brothers. I set up a gaming PC behind me right now. I've been playing Sim Tower and Roller Coaster Tycoon 2.
Hardcore.
Hardcore
gamer. All right, and someone from the chat, let's see here. Level Remix wants to know what is that keyboard that you had on your desk, like that metal one? It looks like, I'm trying to bring it up here. There we go.
Okay, that's I wrote a review of that on Cult of Mac as well. That's the Model F keyboard by Model F Labs. This is a recreation of IBM's buckling spring key mechanism. And because I'm a Mac guy, I wanted it in silver and black to match my computer. And I was disappointed by their font choices, so I just got it with blank keycaps.
Gotcha. Okay. That's a cool looking keyboard. Yeah, it's very minimalist. All right, Lewis, I'm going to send it to you next.
Okay, well, so that one was a big surprise, completely out of left field, right? So
yeah.
This was not going to be a surprise at all. In fact, you could probably both guess what I'm going to say.
I actually don't know. No clue.
Apple Watch
Ultra. Oh, your
Ultra
Apple Watch
2,
Ultra.
man.
Okay. I should have guessed that.
I was so happy to get this watch this year. It was a big splurge for me. I've always had an Apple Watch, but I've never... It's not the thing that I feel like I need. And I didn't get the Apple Watch Ultra when it came out. Because I'm not an ultra marathoner. I'm not a mountain climber. What do I want with a scuba watch? Actually, I am a certified scuba diver. But
are you really?
Yeah, wow. I am. I actually am. But I haven't gone diving in years. So I'd have to go through a little resort course before I could actually try it. Unless I just went out into a lake and gave it a shot on my own. But I absolutely, I mean, after I got over the sort of like, oh, well, I'm not the kind of super athlete that needs one of these. And frankly, after talking to you about it a lot, when the Apple Watch Ultra 2 became available, I went ahead and got it. And I absolutely love it. I love the fact that I don't have to worry about, is my watch going to die every day? It's really astonishing how much longer the battery life is and how different that makes it feel. I like the way it looks. I like the way I thought it was going to be too big and too heavy, and it's just not. The only thing that I maybe don't like about it is I got the trail loop band, and I feel like I have a hard time getting at the right tightness, and that's kind of always a problem with Apple Watch bands. It's got to be that exact right
That's
tightness.
interesting. Yeah, you got to have your wrist has to match the notches in the band. Because I feel like I'm able to get it really tight too, but it's the same reason that AirPods fit my ears perfectly. I just happen to have the right size ears.
Yeah. I think what I've done, it's stretched out a little bit now, and so I think that it's actually, I'm able to cinch it a little tighter. But I mean, it's a little unnerving. I keep getting high heart rate notifications, and I noticed I never got those with my Apple Watch 6.
Huh.
So I think it has to do with the band and how tight it sits on my wrist. Either that, or it's much more
sensitive.
It's much more accurate, and I really should be going to the doctor. So I think I am going to. I went to the Apple store and I asked them. I was returning my iPhone from the iPhone. No, not the iPhone upgrade program. I finally had to turn that thing in, and I said, "Hey, I got another question. I got this Apple Watch Ultra, and I love it, but you just keep getting these high heart rate things." And she's like, yeah, maybe you should go see a doctor.
Well, of course they're going to say that.
Next week is going to be, hey, this cardiologist I found in San Francisco gave me a thorough checkup.
I said, well, hey, so do you guys have a diagnostic you can run on it or something just to see if it's accurate? And she says, well, to be honest, it's possible. Mostly, she said that mostly the problems that they've seen are people not getting results or something like I don't know, the sensor's not working properly in some certain way. But she said no matter what, the first thing you got to do is and you should do this at home rather than trying to do it in the Apple store. You need to unpair your watch, repair it, completely set it up again, which that is maybe the only thing I don't like about Apple Watch, because in spite of how sort of magical that is, the whole swirling universe that you put in your iPhone and all that stuff. I mean, the setup process is kind of beautiful, but man, it takes a long time. It takes a long time for that watch
it's a huge pain.
And the idea of unpairing it and repairing it, I haven't got around to it yet. But once I get back to San Francisco and get bandwidth, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, I mean, it connects to your iPhone, and so everything has to go through your iPhone. If you change iPhones, it's even a bigger pain in the butt, as I learned when I switched iPhones, because my backup went with my old iPhone, so I had to set my Apple Watch up as new. All my watch faces disappeared, and I was like, this is crazy, man. They should have all this synced in the cloud. I mean, it does sync in the cloud, but it syncs with the backup of your iPhone. So if you don't back your iPhone up, or if you have an old backup or something of your iPhone, then it's not going to be current. And you can't just back up your Apple Watch and pull that down without a full backup of your iPhone, which is not a cool way for it to work, man. You should be able to just restore your Apple Watch independent of it being connected to your iPhone. So that's kind of a big pain. But I love it. I'm glad that it's working out for you. Hopefully it's just bugging out, and you don't have to go get a heart transplant or get those metal bolts installed in your neck.
I'm afraid they might discover I don't actually have a heart.
Well, I mean, I could have told you that. I mean, metaphorically speaking, obviously. But all right, cool.
I even bought the leather link band. I found one of those Apple leather link bands. I think Woot was blowing them out, right? Apple quit making them. Why did Apple quit making them? Again, at your recommendation, I picked up one of those. Awesome band.
Which band was that? The leather loop.
Link.
Yes, the leather link. Yeah, I love mine too. It's not good for exercise, but obviously that's not what it's meant for. But if you're going to exercise, you got to swap it out, which is kind of annoying. But yeah, that leather link band is so beautiful, and it fits that Apple Watch particularly so well.
And it just looks classy.
It looks very classy. All right, well, I'll wrap it up here. I was trying to think if these products I was thinking of actually came out in 2023, and I'm not sure. And
Everything's a blur.
I was thinking of a show and I was thinking of a product. And then I looked up the show and I was like, oh, this show came out in 2022. So I was going to talk about Severance. But did we talk about that last year?
I think we did.
I think we did.
But you know, that might have been your work self talked about it. And
I'm
you
not
don't
sure.
remember now.
So I'm not going to talk about Severance anymore. There's a new show on Apple TV Plus, which I do believe came out in 2023, which is one of the better documentaries that I've seen in the last 5 years. And it's about a guy named Carlos Ghosn. Do you know who he is? Carlos Ghosn?
Oh, yeah. You mentioned this on the show as well a couple weeks ago, I think.
Yeah, it was a little while back. And I just kind of watched this documentary on a whim because I had heard of him, but I didn't really know anything about his story. I just know that I saw a story about him trying to flee Japan. So to back up here, Carlos Ghosn was an executive at Nissan Motors, and he had worked his way up through the company. He had become well known for churning companies around. Like, Nissan was in a lot of trouble, and he was instrumental in churning the company around and helping them become profitable again. And he was so good that he had also started working with this car company in France called Renault. And so he was co-CEOing these two companies at the same time. And he started turning Renault around as well. So he had this really huge reputation as a CEO that could actually get things done, very, very popular. And then in the midst of his success, he gets accused of these strange crimes in Japan, and they put him on trial. They take him to jail, and he basically is stuck in Japan. Like, they won't let him leave. He's stuck in jail. He can't get out. And you don't know if he's actually committed any crimes or not, because he was reportedly trying to merge Renault and Nissan, which is something that Nissan did not want him to do, and was something that they made him promise that he wouldn't do when he was starting to work with Renault again, as he was still the executive of Nissan. And then they found out that he was indeed trying to do it. So you don't know if, like, they charged him with these crimes as like this tactic to get him to not go through with this merger, or if he was actually corrupt. And I'm not at a point actually in the documentary where I know exactly what happened, because I lost access to Apple TV Plus. I just got it back recently with my hack to get a new trial. But this documentary keeps you on the edge of your seat, because you're like, is this guy a villain or is he a hero? And you really can't tell. I think that they do reveal that information towards the end of the series. I think it's like 4 episodes or 5 episodes. But this guy has like this larger than life personality. He's incredibly convincing when you hear him talk about his experience. And you also get to learn a lot about like the Japanese judicial system, which works much differently than it does here in the US. And his battle to basically get out of Japanese prison and to eventually escape Japan, and how he did it, which is a really interesting story. But you don't know if he was actually taking advantage of Nissan and essentially effectively stealing from them, or if they're just accusing him of that because they wanted to remove the CEO that they couldn't get rid of, that they didn't want to merge with this other company. And so I don't know what happens yet, but it's on Apple TV Plus. It, of course, looks beautiful. All their content looks absolutely beautiful. Like, the way they film it is, for some reason, it looks better than all the other streaming platforms that I use. Maybe it's because Apple just streams it at a higher fidelity. I mean, that could be it. Or it's the cameras that they're using, but the sound, of course, is like incredible. The picture, the image quality is incredible. Apple gives you all that stuff as a part of your Apple TV Plus subscription, whereas companies like Netflix make you pay double the price if you want to get like 4K streaming. It's 2023 and they're charging you to get 4K streams. It's unbelievable that people pay Netflix, $20 a month for 4K. It blows my mind. Even though Apple TV Plus has also increased their prices. I mean, I think, what are they, $9.99 now for an Apple TV Plus membership? That's not cheap for the amount of content that they have, but they do have some good shows now. And I won't go on and on about Severance, but I'm eagerly awaiting Severance season 2 because that show is one of the best shows that I've seen, just period. It is an outstanding show, and it's built in a way that really resonates with me, or like it has like this weird like spiritual element that's built in to this company and their way of life that undergirds all the strange practices they have, and you have no idea like what the hell is going on with this company and why they do things the way that they do them. And if you haven't seen Severance, I won't go too much into it, but that's probably the best show on Apple TV Plus right now. So I think that's gonna be my pick. Is what's it called? I didn't even tell you what it was called.
I was gonna say you gotta give him the title.
Carlos, I forgot it. Gosen documentary.
Wanted: The Escape of Carlos Gosen.
There you go. And is it 4 episodes? Do you see it?
I don't know about that.
Let's just take a look real fast. Whoops. Okay. Oh, yeah. It's 4 like hour and a half episodes. I think I should have brought this up, and I should have had this up while I was talking about it. So, yeah. So it did come out in 2023. Whew. And it's 4. It's 4 episodes. So I just finished episode 3, and they're actually 45 minutes to 50 minutes long, so they're really easy to get through. If you haven't checked it out, check that out. I thought Lewis was going to talk about slow horses, but he didn't. Maybe in a future episode. We'll have to see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay. All right. Well, with that, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up there, my friends. That's all the CultCast we have for you guys this week. But you know what? The party continues. On the new X, I'm at Erfon, ERFON. Lewis is at Lewis Wallace. Of course, his Twitter tag is gone. I have no idea why. We'll have to figure that out. And then, of course, if you want to find Griffin, you could wander through the backwoods of Ohio, look for someone dressed in a ghillie suit, or you could just Google D. Griffin Jones. Who knows what social media platform will pop up, but I guarantee you this, if you visit him there, it will just be the two of you there, nice and peaceful, romantic. You can have personal discussions. It will be great. This has been the CultCast, the best 30-plus minute Apple conversation you're going to hear all week long. New episodes of the CultCast come out every Thursday night. I want to thank everyone for listening and for hanging out, even when we were going off the tracks, which we did multiple times this episode. And hope you all have a good weekend. We will see you guys next time. Another episode, Lewis, in the books. Live from the back country of Ohio. From Dial-Up Modem, Lewis Wallace.
When are we going to have our All Ohio special?
What was that? I missed the
All
joke.
Ohio special. Come on out, Erfon.
Should I move to Ohio?
There's plenty of room.
Plenty of space. Just choose. Where do you want to go? All right. I'll check it out on Zillow. I could use a decrease in the cost of living, I'll be honest with you. As many kids as I got. All right, everyone. I think that's it. We're going to stop. Have a good weekend. Bye, y'all.